What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today, we are talking about the first place champion list of the Masters Division for the Pokemon TCG Salt Lake City Regional Championships. Hale Obernolte won the event with Arceus V-Star, Hisuian Goodra V-Star. Hale is actually part of the testing group team I'm a part of, Cutter Tap. So I thought in this video, instead of just looking at the list, I can also give you guys some insight on the decisions that went behind Hale choosing this deck for this event. Let's look at the top 8 for this event. It was really a stacked top 8, with James Steele being the only person in this top 8 who had not top 8'd a regional before. So there were 4 Regigigas, 1 Palkia Inteleon, 1 Arceus V-Star Flying Pikachu VMAX, 1 Giratina V-Star, and then Hale with the Arceus Goodra. Going into this event, we knew that there were a few decks that were stronger than the rest. Giratina, Palkia Inteleon, Kyurem Palkia, Regigigas, Lost Box decks. Those were kind of the top 5. And we used the Peoria Metashare combined with the Late Night Series Metashares over at play.limitlesstcg.com to kind of call what decks would be played and what percentages. We also used the Trainer Hill matchup data a good bit. And really, when I say we, Hale was doing so much work for this regional championship, for the preparation of this regional championship, playing in a lot of online events and really looking at the data and working out the matchup conceptualization. So if there's anything to take away from Hale's win, it's that, one, he played extremely well. His fundamental skills are very practiced. So don't look at this as just somebody picked the right deck, because I think a lot of people picked a lot of good decks, but Hale was as a very good player, and you'll see on all of his stream matches, I think his play was very meticulous and very very thoughtful. And I will leave a link to the Twitch streams. They're on twitch.tv/Pokemon, and they'll probably also be up on YouTube. But Hale was on stream a good bit, maybe 3 or 4 times, I believe, over the course of the weekend. So one, Hale is a very fundamentally strong player. 2, he put in the time. He put in the prep with matchup spreadsheets and win percentages and calculating which decks would have the best potential to go through the field of the expected meta and end up winning the event. And 3, he has a good group of like-minded players, Cutter Tap, including myself, Finnegan Lynch, Hunter Butler, some people you might know. And I also do want to shout out all of the Cutter Tap members that played this weekend, because 6 Cutter Tap members attended the event: Michael, Dallas, Hunter, Finn, Joe, and Hale. And all 6 of them, the worst placement out of any of the Cutter Tap group was top 256. That was the worst. And of course, the best was Hale winning the whole event. But having a group of like-minded players that are going to talk deck lists with you, talk matchup conceptualization, run games with you on Discord, having that group of players, that team, is really, really important. And it's one factor of Hale's success for this event. So the top 8, I think Regigigas is one of the inherently strongest decks in the format, right behind Giratina and Palkia, and it's also easier to play than Giratina and Palkia, and it had less of a target on its back compared to Giratina and Palkia. So I think Regigigas was an incredible meta call. Arceus Goodra V-Star, a very good meta call for a few reasons. Favored matchup to Palkia Inteleon, favored matchup to Regigigas, favored matchup to most Lost Box variant builds. A sketchy matchup to Kyurem Palkia, although Hale did play Path to the Peak. And I also think if you approach that matchup in the way that we saw Hale do on stream, and you're able to have a consistent setup, I think the matchup is not as bad as it's made out to be. And then also Giratina, people automatically think that's going to be a bad matchup because Star Requiem can pop the Goodra V-Star. But as we saw leading up into this event, most Giratina lists online were not playing any Lost Vacuum, so that big Parasol could just stick on the Goodra V-Star. Something interesting about GOODRA VSTAR is that it had an incredible success rate in Peoria, and it started performing really well online, but that hype didn't hurt it like it hurt decks like Blissey Miltank, which were kind of not really seen being successful this weekend. I think a lot of people had prepared for the Miltank and the Blissey deck. But let's take a look at Hale's 60 card list here. He had been deciding, he had been choosing Hisuian Goodra as a top pick for about a week and a half to 2 weeks leading into the event. But he had just told me now in the Cutter Tab group chat that he had decided GOODRA VSTAR again at the last minute. He was going back and forth between a few decks, but he was confident in the matchups for this deck and the probability of this deck being able to do well because of going in with that advantage in the matchups, and a lot of decks not being able to adapt to the damage reduction of Hisuian Goodra VSTAR with the Rolling Iron attack that does 200 damage and then mitigates 80 damage on the next turn by the opponent's attacks. Also Radiant Gardevoir, which mitigates an extra 20 damage, Big Charm that gives some more HP, and then the healing cards of Hyperpot and Crystal Cave. Corliss' Experiment is used here as essentially a supporter that says draw 5, but you look at the top 5, 2 of them go to the Lost Zone and you keep 3. This allows you to dig through your deck and build a larger hand, as opposed to something like Melanie or Avery that only gets you 3 cards, Marnie that makes you shuffle your hand back, or Professor's Research that makes you discard your hand. If you want to build a hand of energies and hyperpots and extra stadiums, Corliss' Experiment can be really, really good for that. The Path to the Peak, Hale noted in his interview that that works okay against Kyurem sometimes, to go Marnie path or Roxanne path, because that really is the Kyurem Palkia deck's weakness. And those 2 big Parasols, so even if players did decide to play a Lost Vacuum this weekend, Hale still had an extra big Parasol for the Sableye with Lost Mine and the Giratina V-Stars with Star Requiem. So all in all, obviously it ended up working out as a great meta call for Hale. He played a deck that isn't conventionally strong. It doesn't, one hit pretty much anything important in the format. It has to take 2 shots on everything, but Hisuian Goodra's Rolling Iron mitigates damage. Arceus V-Star is incredibly consistent and efficient at setting up energy and searching out the exact cards you need, and Hale was able to counter the metagame with this Arceus Goodra V-Star deck this weekend in Salt Lake City. So please look forward to a lot more Salt Lake City Regional Championship coverage this week on the channel. We'll look at the top 8 deck lists, probably all the way down to some of the top 32 deck lists, the meta shares, everything like that, as we prepare for future events. Congratulations to Hale again and all of the other competitors that did well this weekend at Salt Lake City Regional Championships. Thanks for watching today here on Celio's network. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for daily Pokemon content. Trying to talk fast here at the end of the intro. And yeah, I'll see you next time here on Celio's network.